The hat lives on. The hat lives on, and it is at this point. Somebody suggested we send this thing to Cooperstown. Cooperstown isn't good enough for this hat at this point. Mariners win 10-1. They've taken the first two games of the 4-game series against the Houston Astros. They improved to 44-43 on the season and 4-1 on the road trip. 4-1 on the road trip. Let's talk about how it happens. In the third inning, the Astros get off to a 1-0 lead on an infield single that scores Chas McCormick. Worth pointing out how that run got there. We can talk about that a little bit. But Colton Wong, well, let's just talk about it now. Colton Wong made an error that caused that run to happen. Gets his little revenge back with a single to left to score Jared Kelenic. Julio singles in a couple of runs to make it 3-1. Cal Raleigh grounds into a fielder's choice. Should have been a hit, but it was a fantastic play. Good for Big Dumper for hustling down the line to make sure that wasn't a double play to make it 4-1. That ended up being big because Jared Kelenic walks to score Julio, and Mike Ford with the bases loaded doubles to make it 8-1. Oh, and then Colton Wong doubles, and it was pretty close to a triple to make it 9-1. A nice 9-run fourth inning. And just for good measure, Mike Ford homers off of a pitcher that wasn't a pitcher, Blee Madrid. This is so weird. It's so weird. Mike Ford is wow. Makes it 10-1. Mariners win. There's no negatives tonight. There's absolutely no negatives. I will apologize that this video is a little later. I posted on that cesspool website and also Blue Sky that this one's going to be a little later, but it's even later than I thought. I finished the game and I was not feeling up to recording just right then and there. I wanted to get some thoughts. And 7 hours later, 8 hours later, I fell asleep at 8 o'clock. Oh, it's way later than that. 10 hours later. Wow, I got 10 hours of sleep. Good for you, Chris. Yeah, I was tired. I was very tired. And that'll happen. Tomorrow's will also be late because I'm going to the Futures game. And I actually got very lucky and I got a nice hotel so I don't have to drive home to Shelton right after the game. That's absolutely no fun. And meeting a buddy for lunch on Sunday. But I will say before we get into this even further, I will be at Jimmy's on First today, Saturday, at right around 1 o'clock, I think. And then I will probably head over to the game about 2. But if anybody wants to come say hi, you'll know me. I will not be wearing this hat. I'll tell you that much. I will be wearing this hat and some other stuff that I got from the good, fine folks at Simply Seattle. I'm excited. Should be fun. I was very annoyed that I couldn't get a credential for the game, but I'm just going to enjoy it, and that's fine. There's so much good stuff to talk about here. I love how the Mariners responded to giving up that run. Yeah, Wong makes the error, and then there's a little infield chopper by Bregman that scores the run. It's 1-0, and then you do that. Then you put across a 9 spot. That's awesome. This team is starting to show that resilience that it showed in 2022. And it took a while. It took a while, and they're going to have to do it a lot more often down the stretch, right? Like we're far from through the weeds here, folks. But it was so great to see. Some of those at bats in the fourth inning were so good. What do you say? It's awesome to see. It's so great to see after such a frustrating first 80 games or so. This looks like a legit contender. And while I very much pointed out that I wasn't giving up on this season because I didn't want to, I was doubtful that we could see this version of the team. And again, there's a lot of work to go. A lot of work to go. But you see what this team is capable of. You see how talented this roster is, right? This was fun. These last few games have been so fun to watch. I can have fun even watching losses if they play well. I can, as you know, get pretty darn pissed mad when they don't play well. Real swear number 2. Luis Castillo was fantastic. I was a little surprised they didn't let him go another inning, but I get it. Especially when he's probably going to be pitching fairly early in the All-Star game on Tuesday in Seattle. He only has the 3 strikeouts, but that has more to do with the aggressiveness and the Houston Astros don't have a ton of swing and miss right now. They also don't have Jose Altuve and Yordan Alvarez. And I think you're seeing right now that Houston is not the Houston that they were last year. 48-40 is far from a horrible record. And Kyle Tucker's a really good player. Alex Bregman, isn't hitting for power whatsoever, but he's solid. Jose Abreu, his line isn't very good, but it's much better than it was a few weeks ago. This team is not without talent either, but it ain't the World Series contender that it was last year. Nah, not even close. And I don't know if they're even that close, even if you get Altuve and Alvarez back healthy. I'm not feeling sad for them, but I am pointing out that this is a wonderful time to be playing the Houston Astros, in my personal opinion. Now, it's worth pointing out that today, it's so weird that they're playing a baseball game while the Futures game is going on. I think the Futures game, personally, if I had my druthers, would be going on while there is no other events going on. That's never going to happen. But that's what I would do. I always make everybody play at Sunday at 1, and then the Futures game would be at 5 o'clock that Sunday. Of course, with the MLB draft, that's especially not going to be happening because that's its own little event. I'll probably do something for the draft. Talk about, the Mariners picks and stuff like that, of course. But might do a little something fun. Might drop a little surprise thing. We'll see. Can't hide the eating grin while I'm talking about that. But I would have it to be its own thing. Anyway, the Astros are not their record's fine, but they're not the same team. The eye test tells you this isn't the same team. But the eye test also tells me that the Mariners are playing fantastic baseball right now. Fantastic baseball. Today's a tough one. That's what I was talking about. I knew I had a point to what I was saying. Framber Valdez, a good one. Framber Valdez is one of the better pitchers, and that's why getting these first 2 was so big, because you don't have to win this game to win the series. Now, it'd be great to do it. Oh my gosh, how great would a sweep look? How great would a sweep feel to end the All-Star break again on such a hot note? But this no longer becomes anything close to a must-win game. It's certainly nice, and again, because the hole you dug, every game is big. But it's no longer as important because you got these first 2. It is. I truly do believe, though, that it is important that the Mariners win at least one of the next 2 to end this thing with a nice little series win. Yeah. How much better are you feeling about this team than you were at this point last week? After the 15-4 loss on Friday, I understand why people were apoplectic and were just ready to give up. And you're okay if you feel like this is just window dressing right now. You're more than entitled to your opinion here. But if you've watched these last few games, it's very hard for me to believe that you don't feel like, oh, this could be something. This really could be something. I sure feel that way anyway. It's fun. It's fun to feel like this. Winning is so much better than losing. Have you noticed that? Ah, Brian Wu versus Framber Valdez is not a pitching matchup that I would say is in the Mariners' favor, even though Wu's been really good lately. And this offense has been outside of the absolute crap show on Wednesday, where Alex Cobb pitched really well. You got to give credit to Cobb too, but they've scored 8, 7, 6, 6, 5, 10. And if you even want to go back to, no, we're not going any back, further back. 8, 7, 6, 6, 5, 10. That is a legitimate major league offense. Mike Ford, man. It's just so cool. It doesn't matter whether I believe it's sustainable or not right now. Because it's fun. It's fun to see. 282, 337, 628. Hitting in the 8th spot. By the way, leave him in the bottom of the order. That's fine. I think that is the right spot for him to be, in that 7th or 8th spot. I don't think he should be hitting in front of any of these other guys, to be honest. Great game for Colton Wong, even with the air, which silly play, and he's got to be better. I mean, he's got to be better everything. But seeing a 4-reach game for that guy, that's awesome. Couple hits, couple walks, extra base hit. I also love that the Mariners have done a lot of this. Now, look, they hit some homers yesterday. They hit one today off of a position player. But I love that we've seen over these last weeks that you don't have to rely on the long ball. I love homers, and I think homers are an extremely efficient way of scoring. Obvious point is obvious. But it's nice seeing some good at bats and some hits strung together, right? That makes you feel better, that you don't have to rely on the homer for this offense to work. Fun. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, follow me on, if you have to follow me on Twitter, so be it. Crawford_MILB. Blue Sky, which is where I'm posting most of my stuff now. Crawford Chris V. Sports Sometimes podcast and the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball podcast. In fact, I'll be recording an episode of that in about 2 hours here because I want to leave early for the Futures game. I'm excited. I am excited to go do that. My DMs on that terrible website are open. If you want to meet up, I'm going to be just being completely honest with you. I'm sitting in the All-Star Club for this game. Splurged. Going to be sitting by myself in some comfy confines. I'm not taking it as a scouting thing at anything. I'll be honest with you. I would absolutely recommend going to the Futures game. It's not a great scouting opportunity. It's a cool place to go watch BP. That's why I wanted the credential, is because I wanted to go watch these guys hit before the game. That's a really good opportunity. But the actual scouting, lackluster, to say the least. However, go. You can find really cheap tickets on third-party websites. I'm not going to promote any of them unless they want to come be a sponsor on the show. You can find some really cheap ones for decent seats too. And what else do you have to do on a Saturday, right? I would absolutely recommend going, but if you're thinking of it as a great scouting opportunity, not so much. Not so much. As somebody who, this will be, I believe, my 6th Futures game. 6th or 5th, one of the two. Yeah, it's not great in those terms of that. You'll get to watch pay attention to some velocities and stuff like that, and you maybe get a better idea if you're sitting behind home plate, uh, seeing like some vertical movement and stuff along those lines. But it's not a great scouting opportunity. It's a chance, though, to say, hey, I went and saw Jackson Churio and Jackson Holiday and Jackson Merrill. It's funny that best players are all named Jackson and James Wood and a whole bunch of really good prospects that you got to see them play this game. Jordan Lawler, Marcelo Mayer. That's all fun and dandy, but it's not, you won't be able to take a ton from this game unless you get to watch BP. Batting practice is massive for anybody who's getting into scout writing. Batting practice is huge. Get a chance to watch that because you really get to see the swing repeats and see the ability to drive the ball up. Anyway, this is a Mariners thing. Maybe we'll talk about some prospect stuff later. Yeah, please hit like, please hit subscribe, and see you today, maybe.